But right now, I would like to stop here with the introduction and give the word to Anneleen Mortier from University of Ghent, who can give us some more insights about the problem itself and why is this important to deal with researcher mental health, and yeah, what is the status quo here at the moment. So Anneleen, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gabor, for the introduction. So yes, I am Anneleen Mortier, and of course, I have to click. I will giving you this presentation on researchers' well-being and career developments. And the presentation is also in collaboration with my colleagues, Katja Levesque and Lien Willem. So first, before diving into researchers' well-being, we'll first give a bit of background so you know where we're coming from and where the data we collect is coming from. So I work at ECOOM. ECOOM is the Expertise Center for Research and Development Monitoring. And it consists of all the Flemish universities, which you can see here, all the logos. So Universiteit Antwerpen, VUB, Ghent University, U Hasselt, and KU Leuven. And we monitor the research and development in Flanders, which is depicted here. So we have the nice map of Belgium, and in red is Flanders. So that's the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. At Ghent University, we look at researchers' careers, so both as junior researchers and also the careers of PhD holders. Now, we do policy-oriented research, so we give, we show our research to the Flemish Minister of Work, Economics, Innovation and Agriculture, and we also show our work to other Flemish stakeholders, such as the Department of Economics, Science and Innovation, and for example, also the FWO, which is our research fund in Flanders. So about well-being and PhD students. A couple of years ago, Katja has published this article in Research Policy. It's a work organization and mental health problems in PhD students. I don't know if all of you know this article, but in a nutshell, it shows that PhD students have a heightened risk of having or developing mental health problems, also in comparison to other highly educated people in the general population. So after this article was published, a lot of news articles and blogs were picking up on this, and they published all kinds of blogs and news articles. So for example, this one is doing a PhD bad for your mental health. The mental health of PhD researchers demands urgent attention. And what can universities do to support the well-being and mental health of postgraduate researchers? And particularly this last question might be interesting for policymakers and for universities to know what can we do, what should we do? So about well-being, because well-being is a highly complex topic. You can also see this lovely picture here with the umbrella and the two chairs. So well-being is kind of an umbrella term that encompasses more than just what you think would be underneath it. So the two chairs can represent either the job outcomes that fall under well-being and also the health outcomes. So for job outcomes, that can be job satisfaction, it can be turnover attention, and it can also be presenteeism or absenteeism, which resembles like you're sick, but you go to work while you're still sick and you should stay home. And absenteeism is that you refrain from working, so you stay home. And health outcomes can be, for example, general health, mental health, physical health, and also burnouts. Now, if you talk about well-being, it could be that you have an assumption that both of these components are highly correlated with each other. So, for example, if So for example, if you talk about job satisfaction, that you can also talk about mental health, and it's all quite similar to one another. And that also implies spillover effects. So for example, if you set up an intervention that targets job satisfaction, that you also think that it will affect all of the other outcomes. But of course, that's not always the case. So that's, well, I will also try to demonstrate with the following results. So we'll focus on job satisfaction, on turnover intentions for the job outcomes, and then I will look for the health outcomes at mental health. And in our survey to the junior researchers, we asked this with these questions. So for job satisfaction, how satisfied are you with your job in general? For turnover intentions, we asked them, how often do you think about quitting your job? And for mental health, we asked them the GHQ, and we have defined the risk on having or developing mental health as they have to have 4 or more of those questionnaire to have such a risk. So I hope, okay, it's because here it's quite blurry. So we have a model that we tested, which includes lots of predictors, and I will walk you through this. A lot of aspects were also mentioned in the quotes that Gabor also mentioned in the speech. So we have 3 main blocks of possible predictors. So work context, organizational context, and the social demographics. So for work context, we included the job demands. Job demands is actually related to workload. So the amount of demands that your work is asking to do, like working long, working overtime, having too many tasks, for example. Then job control is the flexibility you have to do your job. So can you plan your work? Do you have the freedom to plan your work? Can you maybe split your working hours? Can you work from different location and so on? Then we have inspirational leadership style, which is a leadership style of the supervisor or the PI to see if the person has a vision and really wants to develop their PhD candidates. We also looked if the junior researchers have much interest in an academic career, whether they have a perception of a high chance of having an academic career, a positive perception of a career outside of academia. We also looked at science clusters, so humanities, social sciences, exact sciences, applied sciences, and biomedical sciences. The other predictor was type of appointment, which could be an assistant position, so involved in education. It could be a personal scholarship. It could be working on a research project. And then we also looked at PhD phase. So if you're starting as a PhD student, if you're at the executing part of your PhD, or if you're at the finishing part of your PhD. Then for organizational context, we had close decision-making in the team. So that is whether the decisions are dependent on one person of the team or maybe a very small group of people on the team. And not, of course, in comparison to it like a demographic, how we can say it's, yes, thank you, democratic way of making a decision. Then we have family work conflict, and a family work is that problems at home is interfering with your work. For example, you have a sick child at home and that's why you can't do your work, while work family conflict is the other way around. So for example, you have to work overtime and you cannot go to your family or can't do nice things with friends, for example. And then, of course, social demographics, women, age, having a partner, and having children. And we tested this for mental health, so the chance to have a mental health problem, this job satisfaction, and turnover intentions. Yes. So the red blocks are the risk factors of developing a mental health problem. The green are the leverages. So for example, if it's a red block, then it means for job demands, for example, if you have more job demands, then it will increase the chance of having or developing mental health problems. While the green blocks mean it's a leverage. So if it's high, then it will decrease the chance of having or developing a mental health problem. So we could see here for the first well-being indicator that if the job demands are high, if you have close decision making in the team, if you have family work conflict and work family conflict, and if you're a woman, then you will have a higher chance of having or developing mental health problems. Well, the green box, so high job control, an inspirational leadership style, much interest in an academic career, a positive perception of a career outside of academia, and children are lowering the chance. And then for PhD phase, it's compared to the starting phase. So the starting phase has a lower chance of having or developing a mental health problem in comparison with the I can't read it, in comparison to the execution phase. Now, for the job satisfaction, I always press the wrong button, sorry. For the job satisfaction, we see a similar pattern for work context. Only for PhD phase, we now see that it's a significant difference, the starting phase in comparison to the finishing phase. And then for organizational context, we see quite a bit of a different pattern here. We see that family work conflict is no longer significant if we look at job satisfaction. And also for social demographics, we see a different pattern. And then lastly, for turnover retentions, again, work context, quite similar. Now PhD phase, the starting phase is having less risk or of having turnover intentions in comparison to the execution phase or the finishing phase. So if you would turn it around, PhD students that are in their execution phase or finishing phase actually have a higher risk of having turnover intentions in comparisons to the one who were in the starting phase. Organizational context, here we only see work-family conflict is a risk factor of having turnover intentions. So how will we look at this? Because of course, well-being is very crucial in the PhD phase. During the PhD, like the quotes you also showed, Gabor, we should think about this as well, but also maybe for future careers, it could also be the case that this is related to the researchers we train. And now for this presentation, I will focus on the three aspects of researchers' career, which is precariousness, work-life balance, and workload. Why focus on precariousness? Because it's not really well-being indicator, but we know, of course, that precariousness is very much related to well-being, to all kinds of aspects of it. There's, I think, a number of things, a number of studies showing how it's related to well-being. And also, of course, a lot of things are going on, I think, at European level, the debate of how to reduce precariousness for researchers. And then we have work-life balance, which we also saw in the results just shown, and workload, which is related to the job demands. And here, the data here is presented is for PhD holders, so who already have their PhD obtained. And we look at three categories. So PhD holders who are employed in a non-academic context. We look at PhD holders who are in a postdoc position, and PhD holders who have a professor position. And here are the results for the PhD holders who have a fixed contract, so the precariousness. And here we see that, I think I highlighted the wrong percentage. So here we see that for non-academic PhD holders, of course, it's a very high share who have a fixed term contract, and for professor, this is also the case. But of course, postdocs, we also know this, it's quite low, the postdocs who have a fixed term contract. Now for workloads, here we look at the satisfaction of workload. So the PhD holder, the share of PhD holders who are very satisfied or are satisfied with their workloads. And here we see for non-academic PhD holders and for postdocs that the percentages are quite similar. So around 70, 66%. But for professors, the share who are satisfied is significantly lower. And then lastly, for work-life balance, it's also the satisfaction with work-life balance. We also see the similar trends. So for non-academic PhD holders and for postdocs, we see around the same percentage, 76 and 68. However, for professors, the share that they are satisfied with work-life balance is significantly lower. So to conclude this presentation, firstly, for well-being, there are different components. We have the job outcomes, we have the health outcomes. Should not mix those two. And if you think about setting up an intervention, think about what you want to target. And it's not because you're targeting one aspect of well-being that other aspects will also follow. And sometimes it could also be an effect that could be caused the other way around. And lastly, also think about the culture in universities or in your organization that you want to include, because it could be the case that the PhD students that you are training right now, it could maybe have an influence on their further academic careers. For example, if you work hard or a lot as a PhD student, it could be the case that this also persists as a professor, and that it could also affect their well-being as well. All right, thank you very much.